Or changes to the agenda?
Do you have the red line version?
I've got, so just if anybody's here for 18 or 20 Cliff Road, those are gonna be continued, as well as 780 First Parish Road. We'll continue them at the set times. I did wanna discuss briefly at the end of the meeting, the bridge and boardwalk at Higgins McAllister, a Wildlands Trust visit pending, and I can just figure out where we're at with that.
Yeah.
And a little bit on the town forest. We need to vote some minutes. And just want to also maybe discuss with a couple members meeting up with Waterways. So we can do all that stuff at the end of the meeting.
So I'll make a motion, we accept the agenda with the add-ons, Frank just gave you.
A second on that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So Zero Country Way drainage basin.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Bill Laurenberger. I'm here tonight with Kevin Grady of Grady Consulting, our engineer. Just by way of a little bit of explanation, this is a residential compound development, proposed 5 houses, which is a low-density residential development. We've already had a meeting with the planning board this past Thursday. The meeting has been continued until January 9th, so we anticipate that this meeting will be continued until after that time so that we can finalize whatever issues having to do with the planning board. Of note, the Merritt family has owned this property for generations here, and with Kevin's guidance, there's been a lot of careful consideration on what they feel is a low-density green project. There is actually a conventional subdivision of 9 homes could go in here, but the Merritt son actually lives right there. The Merritt's own 2 homes also. So with that point, I turn this over to Kevin right now.
Okay. Kevin, can you do me a favor? Is there anybody in the audience for this project that that wants to see the easel or any of the plans? Okay.
I guess so.
We'll just entertain you guys.
Sounds
There you
good.
go.
As Bill mentioned, the project is a residential compound development under the zoning bylaw. The reason it's in the zoning bylaw, the purpose was to promote large lot development, reduce construction costs, reduce impacts to abutters, and to preserve the semi-rural character of the town. The requirements of this residential compound development is that in order to qualify for it, each lot has to have 4 times the area of the underlying zone. We're in an R20 zone, so we need 80,000 square feet per lot to qualify for it. We have enough area for the 5 lots that we're proposing. Each lot after that, after you make the tract size, has to have a minimum size of 40,000 square feet. So it's a qualification of 4 times the area, and then there's an individual lot development that has to be 40,000 square feet. The idea behind that is you are keeping the rural character. We're developing, if you look in this picture here, the light green is basically the development area. We're proposing about 3.5 acres of development, retaining a little over 6 acres of woodland. So that's the overall idea behind that. As also as Attorney Ornberger has mentioned, based on the land configuration, we could design a 9-lot subdivision. Which I'm showing here. So this would be a conforming subdivision. There'd be 2 roads, 24 feet wide, granite curbings, cul-de-sacs, houses, drainage, etc. Higher density, obviously, wider roads, more drainage, more runoff. Mr. Merritt, as the attorney said before, his son lives here. Mr. Merritt plans on living here. They've owned this land for a long time. They would prefer the residential compound development with the larger lots and more space instead of the congestion. So again, that's the overall thought process behind the development and the design. As far as the wetlands resource areas in our notice of intent that was submitted goes, John Zimmer from Southeast Environmental delineated the wetlands in November of last year. The wetlands consist of a bordering vegetated wetland associated with an intermittent stream to the east. Probably difficult to see here, but the bordering vegetated wetland is this blue line here. It's associated with an intermittent stream that crosses under Country Way in this location here. 50-foot buffer zone here, and a 100-foot buffer zone is here. So the only work we're proposing in the 100-foot buffer zone is a portion of the drainage basin in this location. The site also contains a bank associated with the intermittent stream. The bank is all the way in here, and we're not proposing any work anywhere near that. The site is not located in a estimated priority habitat. It's not located in a FEMA flood zone. It's not located in a Zone 2 or any other water supply zones, according to Mass GIS. The overall site design complies with the Scituate Conservation Commission no disturb setbacks. We've maintained the 50-foot no disturb setback, and we've also maintained a 125-foot no disturb setback. And now that I've said that, I forgot one other resource area. There's a potential vernal pool located in the south here. Under your bylaw, it's not certified, but under your bylaw, we're presumed that it's a vernal pool. So we need to create a 125-foot no disturb zone and a 250-foot buffer zone. As you know, the no disturb means no disturb. The buffer is impacts to characteristics of the vernal pool. As you can see, there's the perimeter of the 125, and we've maintained that setback. Let's see. We've proposed erosion control plans. That's part of the whole plan set. I only brought a few sheets to show you where it is in general on the site, but basically it's at the down gradient portion of the disturbance. These red lines all the way around this perimeter here, we're proposing a silt sock, a 12-inch diameter silt sock. We have a phasing plan that we have designed since our initial submittal that we will be submitting to you shortly. I'll talk about that momentarily. We have temporary drainage areas proposed here. We have temporary stockpiling and staging out in this location as far from the resource areas we can get. We have construction entrances for siltation from trucks located at the front entrance. We're proposing silt sacks in catch basins that are located. There's one catch basin located here that could be impacted by that. We're proposing a silt sack there. There's also a catch basin across the street. We're going to propose one there as well to keep any siltation from the town drainage system. Let's see. The stormwater drainage system that we've designed consists of, at the front entrance, we're proposing a catch basin, a manhole, and subsurface infiltration. We've designed that to infiltrate the 100-year storm. Basically, that drainage system is taking the water from this front 100 feet of driveway, essentially. So it's not a lot of water. So we were able to manage that runoff here. if the system were to fail and it didn't contain the 100-year storm, it's obviously going to take the 2 and the 10 for a long time to come, but this catch basin that's located on the edge of the pavement here, water would back up, stay in the gutter, and go here and into the town system. Don't anticipate any issues with that. The main drainage component is a grass-lined swale, a dry water quality swale here. So runoff from the rest of the development, from here onto the road and from here onto the road, and then the entire road is sloped back at a little over 1%, I think about 1.5%, to an open inlet. There's a break in the Cape Cod berms. It goes into a sediment forebay, through a check dam, into the water quality swale, through other check dams, before reaching the infiltration basin. This is a high quality BMP based on this treatment train. We had 94% TSS, total suspended solids removal, before discharge out of the basin. The main basin has also been designed to hold the 2, 10, 25, and almost the entire 100-year storm. We're not proposing, I believe it's very minimal runoff through this outlet control structure in the 100-year event. So basically we're going to infiltrate all the storms on site. The soils at the site are well-drained sands. So this main feature will handle this stormwater runoff quite easily. The pre-development, everything runs across the site here to the wetland resource area. There is a low area in the center of the property that shows no wetland characteristics. It was reviewed by John Zimmer, it was reviewed by your consultant. Well drained, so the water basically infiltrates here. We're gonna move that same feature basically to here. So we're gonna mimic the pre-development characteristics by infiltrating the runoff from the site. Also, there are it's a 600-foot long and a 200 plus or minus foot long infiltration trench along the back edge of this required maintenance access. So basically it's a 2-foot wide, 2-foot deep crushed stone trench. The water that runs off the back of the top of the drainage berm, we're collecting that and infiltrating it. It's really hard to create a berm and get it into a drainage basin, so this is really the only alternative we have. Now the soils here are A soils, so if we change this area from woods to grass, it's going to increase the rate of runoff, it's going to increase the volume, so we need to attenuate that in some way. So we need to put a crushed stone trench along the perimeter of this. The town stormwater bylaw requires that we attenuate both rate and volume. So based on the drainage design, there's going to be no increase in the rate of runoff at any point in the 24-hour storm to the wetland resource area, and there's not going to be any increase in volume from this development. I have revised the plans, and we have not submitted the latest revision to you yet. We're working on that with the planning board and their review consultant, John Chesia. We do anticipate that coming to you in the next week or so. The review, although exhaustive in detail, has not resulted in any major design changes. All of the houses are in the same spots. The road is in the same spot. The main drainage basin is in the same spot. Same number of lots. Basically, just tweaked every little thing, just a little bit, but it hasn't really resulted in any changes. So we have had one meeting with the planning board. As we had said, we're going to meet with them again in January. I think the project as proposed meets your the town bylaw standards and also the State Wetlands Protection Act requirements for performance standards. And I'd be happy to take any questions, unless, Bill, you think I missed something that you want to add?
Penny?
The only question I have, you said that the drainage basin will be in the 100-foot. So
Yeah.
in order to build that, you're gonna have to clear the trees and so forth and so on. Usually we do ask for some sort of mitigation on a new project that's going into 100-foot. It's not the no-touch, but because it is still a buffer zone. So I don't know what we'd be looking for as a mitigation on that, Frank, or where, because I don't want to see any more trees than what have to be taken down. So that might be something for us to think about.
Yeah, a couple other things that we're proposing in here that may lend itself to that. A large portion of the project is maintaining the woodland, 6 acres. We are proposing a split rail fence at the limit of the work to stay there in perpetuity as a deterrent and a barrier to the buffer zones. And we're also proposing to maintain, currently we have a 20-foot track we're maintaining here. The planning board has indicated that they may want it to be wider. We're going to come back with a wider woodland track. I think we want to maybe have some selective clearing in there because it could be large trees that may want to fall out into people's yards, and there could be some dead trees, etc. But the idea is to keep it as woodland and
Right.
and as a barrier or a buffer between Aberdeen Drive here. And it will also allow for wildlife migration along the wall. Currently, there's a good connection to the town-owned land here, and also additional woodland here. So we are maintaining a good wildlife network by keeping that that acreage woodland. So under the planning board regulations, once we get approval for this, the approval states that no further division can be made.
On the
So-
property?
on the property.
On the other 6 acres?
Correct. Most of it really is wetland anyway. I would be coming back to you if we were doing anything, but it is stated in that there's no further division of this tract because of the agreement that we've
Yeah, because
agreed
I
to as part of
hate,
this.
10, 20 years from now, I hate to see it, the rest of it develop.
Yep,
Um,
exactly.
Because we need places for this to go.
Absolutely. And, that, I know people have used this as a skating pond for years. There's paths to be made out there, so
Yeah.
people can also utilize it for
Yeah.
passive recreation.
Like they have been. over the
Yes,
years,
yeah, exactly.
Okay. That-
I have a curiosity question.
Yep.
It's not quite pursuant to the wetland bylaws,
It's okay.
but maybe in general, but I've never used the compound
we haven't
bylaw
either.
before, and I was wondering, does it offer you more flexibility than the flexible open space bylaw, or is there?
No.
Less.
Really?
Much less.
Because I would like, there's limits on,
Yeah, but
like
what-
lot 3 doesn't even have to have
Yeah,
frontage.
to be candid with you, under a flexible open space, you can do 9 lots, not
Yeah.
9 homes easily. This is strictly driven by the mayor's desire to, use the land in this manner and provide this kind of stewardship, period.
Yeah.
There's a much larger amount of
We could do a lot
money
more
to be made
density.
here.
Yeah, no, it's obvious. You
But
can
this
look at
is-
it,
but,
yeah.
Yeah, so you're exactly right. Flexible open spaces, if this was a developer who, this wasn't family land and they live in the area and plan to live in the area, this would not be proposed.
No, you'd go for the 9.
Yes.
And not-
It's an interesting part of the zoning bylaw. If you take a close look, it's an A&R endorsement, so it's not a subdivision, it's an A&R. And in this section of the bylaw, you're not required to have frontage, you don't have to meet lot width, just have to meet lot area. So, it's
Yeah,
not a
it's really
subdivision.
interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a subdivision. For example, this lot here has, you know, just a few feet of frontage here, and that's really just an area grab. Same with this one. These lots back here have no frontage.
Yeah.
This is a common driveway, so it's not a.
Under the common driveway bylaw, but
Yes.
they're allowing 2, 4, 5 off.
Correct. So this goes first, and it requires you to meet the standards of the common driveway construction standards for their access.
Well, it's interesting, because you do see a lot of green space. I mean, I'm looking between whatever, 3 and 2, 3, and 4 there, whatever those lot numbers are. There's room there for existing vegetation to be maintained.
Or somebody could play wiffle ball.
Or somebody could play wiffle ball, yeah, but there's, yeah.
Yeah, no,
Um,
good.
Not right now. I think when the lines in your plan becomes changed, there might be feedback.
I'm not sure this is really relevant, but you're saying that the rest of this land would never be developed and it's mostly wetlands. Why not put it into a conservation restriction? Then it would never be developed.
Well, we have 2 years for the state to approve it.
As you know, it's easier said than done. It costs you money to do it, and then you have to find somebody to do it. And I don't know that it necessarily is going to make for a better project. I think the people who live in this area will probably do a pretty good job policing people coming in and out of there, cutting that. And it is a lot of it's conservation land, so you will have the ability to fine them for impacts
Yeah.
should something happen.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. I'm good right now.
Amy?
Yeah, so, I was out there actually in August, with our consultant, Art Allen, and, John Zimmer, and, Mr. Brady. We walked the site, the fact that there is a vernal pool out there, Art is saying it's definitely certifiable vernal pool. And administratively, we also are commenting that the filing fee was incorrect, and that has not been straightened out yet.
Actually, I'd like to revisit that one more time. And the more I've thought about that, and maybe I can talk to Art about it, is this is not a subdivision. It is an A&R plan, so.
Well, it's about the source.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that
source
next. So,
discharge.
and we've revised the plan for that second discharge that we initially had. So
Okay.
I would say the major revision to this plan is initially, since the son of the developer lives here, what we wanted to do was do a rain garden or a bioretention on his property in the front there. We thought it actually would look good. And there was space to do it above the ground. Unfortunately, that complicated the permitting for the review engineer and the planning board because we weren't on our one tract of land.
Yeah.
I think they were a little disingenuous. I think they just kind of threw it, at us and didn't really. I think they just wanted it all on one track. So we moved that to a subsurface infiltration, as we talked about, in this location here. That is now going to infiltrate the 100-year storm. That's the design right now. We do have to go back through the review process with the review engineer and, have groundwater separation and, check that our time of concentration is correct. And but there's no longer a discharge there. So I think I didn't disagree with his questioning that at all,
Sure.
to be honest. But the more I think about it, I think I might have been right at the beginning.
Well, I guess that will work itself out once we see your revised plans.
Yeah.
So clearly, this is a subdivision that's mostly not in our jurisdiction, but there are significant resource areas where there's a vernal pool, which has 250 and a 125 protection, and you've also got 100-foot buffer. So it's a little more complicated than the colored photos that he's showing. I definitely encourage you to look at the plan set, and once we get the revised plans in, which will show hopefully more of the direction that they're going here, we can have some comments.
Yeah, and I may be able to reach out to Art and revisit that with him as well.
For me, please.
Sure. And as I indicated, that there is an exhaustive review, but overall, it didn't really change the plans. We are up to 17 sheets now, though.
Yeah, and that was gonna be one of my questions, was where are you within the stormwater review? Because I haven't seen the findings letter, actually, I did not get that.
Okay.
But as you know, the stormwater permit is incorporated into our orders, so I think that might have been an oversight.
We were,
Trail.
I was working on the revision letter back, and we just got close enough to these meetings where we decided we'd wait for input from the planning board and the commission before submitting it again. So I'm at
But I
the,
haven't seen Chessie's initial review.
oh, okay.
So
Okay.
somehow we're not on the distribution.
I can
so we
forward it to you
should
if you'd
be.
like.
Yeah, although we don't really want more paper, but.
Well, and there'll be a
Well-
lot.
It's just, I know, it's just the way it goes, though, because we do need a.
So
complete
my
file.
letter is his letter with answers all the way through it, so that one might
Yeah.
be a little more interesting reading.
Anything else?
That was it for now, yeah.
Anybody in the audience for Zero Country Way? So to Penny's point about habitat and whatnot, you have the area that's gonna be a retention area or detention area.
Yeah.
In some of the projects, we've seen them try to vegetate that a little bit better rather than just a grass berm and a grass bottom, trying to plant that out so it becomes a little bit more habitat. And I
yeah.
encourage you to think about that if it's possible.
Go look at the one at Scituate Farm on the road.
So
That's really nice.
one of the, do you know if they just planted the berm?
No, they think they did both. And also, we did the safety building. There's been a few places where,
So I initially designed a bioretention area, planted it up real nice at the front of this, and the comment from the review engineer is that we can't use bioretention for peak rate control under the state regulations. So I can't plant something and make it look
we might
nice
need
anymore.
another peer review.
And then another comment is we needed maintenance access around the entire basin.
Basin?
So I have a 15-foot wide strip on the opposite side of the basin now to access and maintain it. Thirdly, if we plant the berm, would it compromise the berm? Probably not, but I bet that's the question that I'm gonna get.
Well, I guess we'll have a discussion with it,
Yeah,
because I mean,
To the extent the commission can talk with the town's consulting engineer, we'd be more than happy to accommodate with the commissions. We can't get caught in the horns.
yeah, well, and I understand that, and we don't want you to be there either.
Yeah. No, but we think.
We can
that-
appreciate your
We think
comment,
that
yeah.
your suggestions are probably our preference.
But we've got a vernal pool, you've got some wetlands, we're trying to preserve that.
Right.
And it just seems like it would be a good way to,
Yeah, because right at the outset, you know, and again, that's their opinion, but I think you need a 15-foot maintenance on the backside of the berm.
right,
That's another 15 feet of vegetation right there.
That's been cleared.
Right.
Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is we don't have to do that.
Your vegetation.
okay.
If somehow we'll give that right back to the commission, but I don't know that that's going to be,
Yeah. Well.
I don't know if that's gonna meet the standard.
What's that?
Okay.
We'll look into it.
Just comparing this to, you're showing that it has the potential for 9 homes. Where would, like, the detention area have gone and all that?
We maybe would lose one lot, worst case, and wind up at 8. But we could do subsurface, we could do several areas. I would really have to get into the teeth of the design.
See, what happens, Frank, is that's a conventional subdivision statistically. As soon as conventional density scratch is approved, then basically there aren't any dimensional requirements, or there's nominal ones. So basically you can move, so there's ample room to do detention, whatever, because once a conventional density sketches, it shows that you can actually build it conventionally. Then if you want, you could put all 9 in one corner.
Well, I get that, and I'm all in favor of this type of development where a lot of open space is saved. I just want to be sure that we've done our diligence, that you're saying you can build a conventional 9-home subdivision, but the reality is that plan doesn't show any stormwater control or anything like that. And so to put all that in, you've got a larger paved area, more runoff. So somewhere along the line, that might not actually be, it still would all get developed
Yep.
and cleared and altered, but,
Well, under the flexible open space bylaw, you're not not conceptually, actuality.
yeah,
If someone had to design drainage, I've been through this numerous times, for a flexible open space, showing it on a definitive, there never would have been a flexible open space in the history of the town, because the expense incumbent in it would make it such that you don't design two drainage systems.
right.
So, in other words, through any.
I'm not asking you to design it, all I'm just trying to put it out there and say, let's be real, this might have been an 8-home.
Worst case, if we push the under definitive subdivision, I think maybe we'd lose one.
All right.
Maybe.
Okay, so,
Back in the back
and
house back.
believe me, I mean, I'm seeing less pavement, less impervious surfaces, so the whole piece
Fits.
is better for us. I just want to be sure we're clear on that. I'd like to see, that area that has the detention done, and we'll take that up with the planning board or with the,
Actually, Brad Washburn might be a good intermediary
yeah.
to talk between the two boards, and maybe, and because,
Well, we had good, we've worked with the planning board through projects like Toll Brothers and
yeah.
whatever. I don't anticipate that being a real,
I think the issue you've got is the duel of the consultants. That's the issue.
Yeah.
And it's not.
well, if we don't have a consultant that's interested in preserving
Right.
space, then we don't need that consultant.
I won't disagree.
So,
He'll flip that on me somehow.
Did you say after January, January
Yeah.
6th is our first meeting?
Read the meeting
The
after that,
next
Penny.
meeting
22nd.
will be the 22nd. And I just want to make it clear, that is a Wednesday. Okay? So I make a motion that.
before you
I'm
do that,
sorry.
there's just one
Yeah.
more piece. So, to Lisa's point about the open space being protected, is there any sort of, I realize the problem with putting any sort of deed restriction or having that go before the state
Condition something.
creates, but is there anything that can be placed on that in a more simplified way? I mean, we could
Condition it.
condition it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to do it. It's gonna
And I,
Go
believe me,
forward
I
with
don't
the
want to
land,
discourage,
yeah.
I appreciate the fact that these folks are doing it in this, I mean, it'd be nice
Manner.
to see it not get developed to have a house lot, but the reality is people have had time and money and paid taxes on all this, so we get that, and we appreciate them doing a more,
So, let's look at some type of condition.
all right,
Right, we're amenable to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it just protects it
okay,
longer, and they'll carry through. Okay?
all right.
All right, I make a motion that we continue 0 Country Way to January 22nd, 6:20.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Great.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate all your time on this.
Appreciate it.
So, we have a request from James Garfield of
Thank you.
Morse Engineering to continue 18 and 20 Cliff Road
To the next meeting,
to,
have they been opened? I wasn't here when they were opened.
It's opened.
Okay.
I don't think it asked when they want to be continued to.
Did they say?
They
Next,
didn't say,
next meeting?
yeah, just next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, wait a second, please. I make a motion that we continue 18 and 20 Cliff Road to December 2nd at 6:20.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then 780 First Parish Road, they've also requested a continuance
To the
to,
second or later?
12/2.
Yeah.
12/2?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't say, but just put them on for then.
Okay.
I make a motion that we continue 780 First Parish Road to December 2nd at 6:20.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So now we have 132 Maple Street. On November 18th, 2019, at 6:25 PM, the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws, regarding the application of Joseph and Christine Pans, thank you, to convert 21,500 square feet, more or less, of wooded forest buffer to bordering vegetated wetlands and BBW to agricultural use, consisting of fields along with construction of a 30 by 60 barn with full utilities, water, septic, and construct approximately 220 linear feet of access road at 32 Maple Street, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Good evening.
Should be interesting.
You can use ours if you want.
I wasn't sure if I was allowed to.
We're not that stupid.
I noticed the last applicant had his own, so.
And for folks that are interested in this, yeah, just get into a spot where you can see it a little better. Green cards,
Actually, the Jen. Doesn't matter.
I'll take a couple of paper copies, sure, thank you, Gary. Doug, you good?
I got one here. I'm good.
No, I didn't take another one.
All right.
Gary, are these the revised plans?
Yes,
So
those are
these
the-
are ones we've never seen before?
Yep, yeah. Yeah, you haven't seen them.
Okay.
It's colored. Stand up.
Yes. Okay,
All right.
so why don't you let us know what we're...
As the advertisement said, this is a proposed development at 132 Maple Street. It's an existing 14-acre parcel, plus or minus. Borders First Herring Brook in the rear and Maple Street in the front. There's a wetland off to the left side, which is actually the east side. And there's an existing cart path that runs pretty much all the way from Maple Street to the rear of the parcel. There's another 50-foot wide.
Why don't you point out that stuff on the easel, that way folks in the audience will have an idea what you're...
There's a utility easement that runs across the parcel also.
So those are the power lines.
There's a power, yeah, there's high power lines, high tension power lines.
Gary, these people can't see you. They see
Oh,
your
I'm
back.
sorry.
We really can't see anyone. It's fine.
Well, I'll give you a little plot here.
Twist it towards them as much as you want, because we have copies here, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, that's a little bit, that's a little easy.
Maple Street here, walk straight up to the tower. The existing cart path, wetland in the front. There are quite a few other zones in there. There is, a portion of it is within the limits of the floodplain and watershed protection district. It's identified by the blue line. Right there.
Yeah.
It is in the, overlay district, the water resource protection district, which is an overlay. There is a zone A associated with the water supply that is also identified and highlighted in the red. That was taken from the GIS sign. And as I stated, our proposal is a 30 by 60 bond that will be located approximately 300 feet in off of Maple Street. Access to the bond will come over the existing cart path. And we are proposing to utilize everything to the right side, or to the north side of the wetlands, for approximately 15 to 18,000 square feet of agricultural use. The agriculture will be row crops, won't be vegetables, it will be primarily a weed and landscape material. So it's not going to be a real intense utilization in terms of farming. The bond itself, 30 by 60, will be 2-story. As I said, we will be providing a small gravel parking area out the front of it. Pretty much as a loading area. We'll have a concrete ramp up to it. The barn itself will probably be somewhere in the range of about 2 feet above the existing grade. The project is subject to stormwater. So in accordance with stormwater, our intent specifically was to provide an interceptor trench along the property line that would intercept all of the runoff that was currently coming on the parcel from the homes above. We would collect it there and discharge it directly across the cart path to the south side of the cart path. For the roof itself, we would intercept the roof that would be provided with gutters. We would intercept it and discharge it directly into a subsurface infiltration system. The infiltration system will be located 2 feet above groundwater as was identified in the test pits that were conducted on the site. We did not account for any infiltration associated with it. It's just static storage that will be provided, but it won't meet the stormwater and it won't meet the water quality book. Other than that, we will provide obviously 12-inch mulch log along the outside limits of the development. And as I stated, the proposal is specifically to upgrade the existing cart path where necessary. The intent was specifically just to remove whatever topsoil was on the cart path and just replace it with a stone bed. It will pretty much travel the cart path 4 seasons. You can drive it now. Obviously, we have been driving it. We've conducted perk tests out there a few times now, both for stormwater and this morning we were conducting a perk test for potential subsurface sewage disposal systems associated with the plant.
Okay.
And with that, I'll turn the meeting back over to the chair.
Thank you. Do you want to add anything, Joe?
Would love to add.
Keep in mind, we got a few other hearings afterwards.
I know there's a few more people that want to talk. I'm not real familiar about farming, stuff like that. I do know what we've got going on here, and I talked to you guys the other day about like the cart path. I really would like to use the cart path instead of knocking more trees between me and the neighbors to divide, another access way in. Just being that said, there is other options, Plan B, that we do have if the cart path is not the way to go. Just wanted to let you know that.
Okay, thank you. Penny, do you have,
Well, my problem with the whole thing is that you do have to do a wetlands crossing.
I understand that.
And I'm not a real fan of wetlands crossing for personal gain, okay? So I have an issue with that. This is, I was very impressed with the piece of land you have up by the street. And after we were out there, I said, gee, that's already all cleared and everything. Why doesn't he put his barn up closer there where you wouldn't get into a wetlands crossing? You'd still have that beautiful cart path to walk in the woods out there. I just saw other options for you to do your farming and get your barn in without doing a wetlands crossing. So I just, I gotta think about this one.
Well, there is an option. We do have the ability to be able to get back there without actually physically doing a wetlands crossing association with the cart path.
And where's that?
It would be along the property line.
Right here.
Yeah.
Maybe have to go up there.
That was one of the things I was hoping we would discuss this evening. A little bigger scale, but we do have the ability to miss the
Go
wetland.
along the property
Go
line.
along the property line and
Okay.
avoid the wetlands altogether.
Okay.
Now, there's two benefits associated with it. One is that we would essentially not impact any wetlands whatsoever in terms of direct impacts.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'd be within the limits of the buffer. And secondly, we could actually elevate the roadway itself You really kind of can tell the runoff that's coming off of the abutter's property to follow the drainage easement that was intended in the agreement with the development. There is a drainage easement that runs this way. And generally, the land does flow this way. The intent was in '98, when they developed that plan, that there would be a drainage swale that would run all the way from east to west and all the way up to Third Heron Brook. It was intended to direct it back all the way. But I don't believe it's been done. And in fact, I think part of the reason why you've seen so much water flowing across this carpet never was done in '98. So, but this would actually serve both purposes.
Okay.
May I ask them, excuse me, may I ask them why wasn't that the original proposal?
Going to the right?
Because I was being nice to my neighbors.
Okay.
That's the whole reason.
It is right on the property
No, I
line.
understand. I
It's
just-
other people's backyard.
Thought that might be the reason, wanted to check.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
but it just, I don't know.
It could be done. Obviously, the intent is, we're not gonna provide it, we're not gonna do it.
I also question, why do you have on here a septic system if that's just gonna be a barn?
The intent was that if you do have the barn out here, far enough away from the house, it would
I'm sorry, I can't
They can't hear you
be
behind you.
I'm sorry. It would be nice to have a toilet in it, so that you don't
Because
have.
it's so far from my front house.
Yeah.
It's all the way in the back.
It's just removed from the
It's
front.
all the way to the back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is.
it's just a long ways.
Okay. I don't have anything else at the moment.
Can you see
I
this? Do you
feel
want
like
to
you
get
should
around a
flip
little?
to me before you guys go through the whole board.
Oh, okay, you go.
I mean,
Well, we
because I've
usually do.
got some pretty significant comments.
Okay.
I mean, this, so.
We can do it that, I mean, typically
Yeah.
we go through the board and then.
On this one, though, I think it might be helpful if we just get out some of the main concerns.
Big one.
Right
Okay.
away. Yeah, so, I mean, so we're making progress, we received this notice of intent. You know, the project narrative was is not now what they came in with originally, so there's been a little bit of back and forth about that. But it sounds to me like we have a better description on what they want to do. As you can see, there's a lot of resource area out there. So step one was to confirm the resource area boundaries, to make sure that we agree with what they have drawn on the plan. As you can see, you just now received the revised plan, so we haven't had the opportunity to look at that to see if it addresses the concerns that our wetland consultant who went out there in October had 15 different concerns with the plan set. You know, many of them were relative to the flag locations themselves. There's, you know, other comments about the project information and technical comments regarding land and agricultural use, so that the property is not currently in land and agricultural use, and that comes from a definition from the DEP that was provided on the DEP's technical comments. It's very specific about that, which is good. I mean, as far as they can still do what they want to do, they just need to meet our bylaw. So our bylaw, as you know, is a 50-foot no disturb. So once we get the resource area boundaries established, you'll know where that 50-foot no disturb is. However, if they do come in on the cart path, I mean, now you're talking, that's a crossing, so that flips it into a limited project category, which will then, I mean, there's a lot of information that kind of needs to be exchanged here before we're really gaining much traction. Step one definitely is going to be to get this revised plan and get it back to our consultant and see if it matches up, so that we can at least be in agreement with the resource areas. You know, and if it does come in on the cart path, like if that's the general consensus, is that's where you think it should come in versus, you know, on the north side of the property, we are going to need some additional information, like the alternatives analysis hasn't been provided yet, and then that will lead into, once we have the project on paper, then we can go into the peer review for the stormwater. So that definitely triggers, like Gary said, the stormwater bylaw. And so we would have that reviewed, so their proposed management would be reviewed. They did submit calculations, it's just we want to get the resource areas first, you know, settled upon before we proceed to the next step. So I think like a couple of the basic things we're working out right now. One is, what is it that they actually want to do? And does it make sense? And where are the resource areas on the property? Also, I have had, you know, been able to talk to Joe and Christine a number of times about it's just the process in town and how this type of a project actually does, you know, affect other boards and commissions besides the Conservation Commission. While the resource areas are important to have defined, if you're going in on a driveway into another structure, that's going to probably be considered something under a zoning regulation that would impact either zoning board or planning board, or both. And then you've got a septic system, which is going to, you know, come under the purview of the Board of Health. So before we are at a point where we're going to issue any orders on this, all those other boards would need to happen first, so.
Okay, well, I was told that I need to get their okay to do the rest of the stuff.
Well, we need to
So I
define the
can't do
resource
the other
areas.
stuff till they say I can do the stuff to go to the other departments.
Well, you can get the basic consensus and feedback on your project to move ahead with the other boards, but the most important thing right now is for us to evaluate the resource area boundaries and get those on a plan that's acceptable to go ahead for your next steps. So
We will have, a lot of some of the changes that have been requested by Art have already been made to the plan, and you'll see them in the revised plan. And I will have Chris Duhall go back out and take a look at, there's one area where Art said he thought there was another wetland on the southwest corner that he talked about. So I'll have Chris go back out and look at it, because Chris didn't get it, because he flagged it. He didn't flag it at all on the original go-around, so maybe it might take
we should
another
probably
visit.
all convene out there. Yeah, that would
That's
be a
what,
good
I'm
idea.
kind of thinking that it's probably something that Art and Chris, because they're the ones who are going to argue it, not me. I'm not the.
Yeah, that's usually how we run it, is that we
Yeah.
have them meet out there so they can, you know,
Yeah,
go back and
they
forth
can
and work
go
it
back
out.
and forth and argue where the wetlands are, although admittedly, even that wetland is 200 and some odd feet. It's over 200 feet from any of the proposed activity area, but still, it's something that you're right, it should be identified and specifically as to whether or not it is a resource area. And Chris admittedly did not indicate that that was a vernal pool. So I saw Art's note relative to that, saying that it could be, it has a potential to be a vernal pool, so I'll go back and look at it, I'll have Chris look at it, and we'll report back to Art and yourself as to whether or not it is, or whether or not we believe it is.
I can answer that.
Sure. But, yeah, go ahead.
I met with the USDA farm plan today.
Mm-hmm.
They came out on the property. The guy spent 4 hours there today, walked the property with me, and also brought to my attention, like, you know, here we got a good idea, okay? Because I'm going to join them. I'm going to be with them, all right? He says, all right, you have this, okay, you're drawing what you want. It's not good enough for them. They send their flag guy out. They tell me where we can farm and where we can't farm, okay, for me to be in with the USDA farm plan. And then they'll give me a drawing to give to you guys, to let you guys know where we can grow. So this might not even be exactly right. She's trying to say what area, exactly where we're gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
It might change a little to what we got. You know what I'm saying? I did not know that. And I cannot even be in their group unless they do the flagging of the areas of the wetlands of where we can grow.
Seems like a lot of bureaucracy too.
Right, but in
Is
order
it crazy? I said another flag guy? We've already had 3.
I mean, it's a little bit of a catch-22 because since you're not currently in agricultural use and you're converting to there would be the requirement to meet the Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate bylaw. So regardless of the plan that they come up with, we may or may not be able to permit it because we have our local bylaw. Of note, there's also the DEP indicated, since it's in an ORW, that there'd be a 401 water quality cert required. So that's an additional certification from the state because you're in that sensitive area, the Zone A and the Zone 2. Oh, and replication, if we're going to be crossing through wetlands, there's a replication and mitigation plan.
I'll go up the sideline. I don't even have to go on conservation, so I go up the sideline.
Let's,
If I
We're
may,
too early.
Frank, one of the things that the department did indicate that was originally when we were.
the department being,
DEP.
okay.
When we first went to DEP, our proposal was to make upgrades to the cart path, provide two culverts. And it was that aspect of it that Greg DeCesare also indicated that in fact we were gonna need a 401 quality cert. So we modified the plan to be able to eliminate that and reduced our scopes very dramatically so as not to trigger a 401 water quality cert. And that was our understanding, and we were issued a number. So we do have a number.
And the number shows that you still need a 401 water quality cert. So, I mean, there were pretty significant comments from the state on this one. But it's so, I mean, in my opinion, we're still in the data collection and revision phase, trying to, you know, come to terms with what resource areas there are out there and then what you can do, you know what I mean, under the bylaw. And I'm sure you have a project, just not exactly sure what it's gonna look like at this point.
No, it is important to note too, that the bond in and of itself is almost in its entirety outside the limits of the 100-foot. It should barely touch on the 100-foot buffer. So the bond itself is,
Yeah, it was the crossing.
it's just the upfront work associated with the crossing, associated with the driveway access.
Yeah.
That's really the big issue.
All right, let me, I want to get back on track a little bit
Yeah.
and have this run through questions from our members. And I know that there's folks in the audience that want to speak to this, and we'll just try to move forward.
So my questions, like a couple, and one was for the fields itself. I know that those restrictions are less stringent in an agricultural use, but I believe in previous projects that we've had, even agricultural use, we at least tried to get them to observe a 25-foot no disturbance from the wetlands.
No, there's not leniency, there's still need to meet the 50-foot.
So,
Because it's within like a couple feet,
Yeah.
the fields are.
I think what you are
Right.
referring to, Doug,
So it needs to be
the
paired
pairs.
down.
yeah, when we, on Candlewood Drive, there was,
Yes.
and actually that was more of a violation, it was an after-the-fact one. The person that did that had a plan, but they way exceeded what was permitted. And then they actually had to remove some of their fields or plantings and relocate them on the property.
Well, okay, so
But we
being that,
did, but we did look at that and agree that we could work with a lesser buffer where it was used in agriculture. So there's some.
okay, so these are much closer to the west, like, and I guess my question was, is had you, and you may have already considered this and looked at moving the fields back further,
We did.
and where you could be like, more like 50 feet away from the wetlands, and then move the barn back up forward a little bit, but at least it would be more in the 100, but it would be, and maybe it just doesn't work?
No, it does
Back
work,
out
'cause
there.
there's plenty of space back there. There's plenty of space back
And
there. but-
then you could observe, like, the 50-foot is usually not supposed to be disturbed at all. And the state is 25, correct? DEP.
It's our bylaw, it's 50-foot.
We
no
are
disturb.
50-foot, and DEP is 25. And so, and I'm just looking at, like, there's just like a few feet. And I'm just, was wondering if you had,
The reason we didn't want to put it behind it,
yeah.
because I'd be cutting a whole ton of trees out of it. And I'm
True.
trying to leave it wooded. I'm trying to do it.
Is this somewhat
It's supposed
clear
to be-
already?
Huh?
Is this somewhat clear already, where you've got those proposed?
Not where this is, no. but there's less trees there. We went and evaluated the situation, what would be the best, less impact. So that's why we designed it like this. I mean, if you guys want me to just be like 25 feet or 55 feet, then I'll just forget about that and just cut all the trees down in the back and put it all in the back. But I just didn't want to do it. I was trying to do it eco-friendly.
No, and I'm just asking questions.
I know.
I mean,
I know.
I said, like, you
You
probably
haven't
have,
walked it, so you don't
probably
know.
Yeah, I haven't walked it, so I figured you probably had looked
But
at that,
that's
and
the
there was
reason
probably a
why.
reason why, okay.
That's where it's at.
And we have been farming this land for 2 years.
Excuse me, ma'am.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, your name is?
I'm Christine Dance, I'm the owner.
Okay.
So I just have to quickly say that we.
What we usually do is try to let everybody go through, and I know we've had a little dialogue going back and forth, but what we try to do is ask some questions. I know that everybody is anxious to get their piece in, and we want to make sure that we keep this sort of rolling along, and we'll get
Okay.
to all that.
Well, so my last question was the limits of Zone A. Is there, this particular Zone A, is there another way to locate that other than just from GIS? I mean, what does that pertain to exactly?
It was just something that was established by GIS to.
It is,
Yeah,
okay. It's not a radius from something you could field locate?
it doesn't appear to be, it's,
Well, because it could be off 20 feet, you might not even be in it, but.
no, I know.
All right.
But I guess the only thing is I'm saying, what I can tell you is that if you're telling me I gotta stay outside the 50, then obviously I'm just gonna stay outside the 50. But obviously, we have a cart path.
Yep.
The cart path's gonna remain regardless. Because there could be ancient rights to that cart path that I have no idea. So we're not, that cart path is not gonna get disturbed. It's just gonna,
Right.
it's gonna be what it is forever and a day. I don't know who has rights to it, Doug. We have, it could be, there could be people coming out of the woodwork saying they got rights to this cart path. 'cause
Oh, yeah, yeah, I know. I know.
So that cart path remains. No matter what we do, that cart path will remain.
Yep, I get that. All right, that's good for now.
Jen?
Obviously a lot here, and it feels as though there's still more unknown than known about the plan. But I would pretty much just say I agree with everything that's already been said. Would love to see the impacts minimized, but would love to see a plan that is agreed upon by everybody in advance.
Lisa?
You had mentioned that you're putting a bathroom in the barn.
Yes.
Are you going to be putting a livable unit in there?
A livable unit? There will be probably a bedroom for the bathroom, yeah. Not gonna lie to you.
Okay.
It's not gonna be a kitchen or anything like that, but there might be a bedroom in there for my son to stay in, yes.
Thank you.
Richard?
I'm with Jen. There's more unknown than known, and just based on what Amy said as well, I mean, we need a chance to look over the revised plans and then think about ways that this can be made to work most efficiently. And there are 3 or 4 pretty significant questions that we have to go over, and I'd love to go see the place.
Okay. I want to open it up to the audience unless, I mean, you're willing to give your piece. I want to, and then when we do this, what I request is that everyone would state their name and address. So if you have a comment or question, you want to state your name and address so that we can keep that for the records. Okay.
Okay, so I asked a few people that I bought the property from and older people that have been here forever to come and talk, that I was told that it wasn't a cart path and that I did the cart path. That, you know what I mean, that I made that cart path up. So I just got people that are around here, been here forever, to come and testify.
Okay.
So I just want to hear them out.
Okay, thank you. Yep. So who'd like to comment? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Marcia Watson. I live at 156 Maple Street.
I'm sorry, Miss Watt.
I live at
Marshall?
Watson.
Watson.
I live at 156 Maple Street.
Okay.
Is this a commercial venture? Is it a farm that is going to sell items off it? And therefore, Maple Street is like an extension of Route 3, morning and night. It does not need a business in a residential area.
Do you want to answer? It sounds like the question is there going to be a farm stand
Out front?
Yeah.
In the
No.
parking lot?
No, in front of my house.
Okay, so you are going to grow something, and what are you going to do with what you grow?
We've been growing, and they come, and it's sold at the market. We've been leasing the land.
Ronnie
for
Simons
10
comes
years.
and takes it, it's all gone. There's nothing in front of our house.
And fire.
My big concern is the traffic on the street all
Sure.
day. Right. The other
Okay.
thing is that if it is also, if they are planting things, are they using pesticides to keep things from eating them? And isn't that part of the town water supply? And don't we have enough problems with the town water supply already? We don't need another Flint, Michigan.
Okay. So, yeah, so just, if you could, just answer, first off, the question, your question about whether there's a farm stand there, this is a conservation commission. So what we're trying to deal with is the Wetlands Protection Act, our wetlands bylaw. We do overlap with some of the protection areas, and as Amy pointed out, that if there were potentially a market here, that would be before the planning board. The zoning board of appeals actually has jurisdiction over some of the tributaries that go into our waterways. It's a fairly significantly environmentally sensitive piece of property, primarily because of the brook that goes into our drinking water supply. And so that's why this triggers a lot more complicated pieces. So we're looking at all that. And in our orders, we have rules and regulations that pertain to the use of any pesticides or whatever. So that would be in our orders of conditions that they could use. But it's also good to hear from the applicant that they don't plan to use that. But it would be part of our orders as well in order to protect the drinking.
Would you be also checking the water supply if this does pass to make sure that they don't use them and aren't infecting the water supply?
Typically, we issue a set of orders that go with this. And then during the construction of the project, we have oversight. Beyond that, it's really difficult for the commission to do that. We sort of believe that the owners are going to comply. If for some reason the water was tested like that, or if we got complaints or someone brought it to our attention that there was something else being done there, then we would have to address that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Someone else? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Kevin Dolan, 118 Maple Street. So my question is, kind of you raised the point around the crossing and your concerns there, and then there was mention of a Plan B.
Right.
That would be up against the abutters, and my neighbor mentioned that, he didn't want to go that way because of his concern. He wanted to be nice to his neighbors. So I don't know if it's appropriate now, but could Gary come back up and explain exactly what that plan is, so you all understand
Sure.
what the impact would be to the neighbors around the crossing?
Yep.
If we go
I understand
about
it.
it.
I've been out there.
Well, let's,
Okay.
Gary, just,
I don't understand.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Well,
the alternative to using the cart path,
the alternative is that there's an existing stone wall along the property line on the
Yes.
north side, and there's about a 16-foot wedge there between the most upper, the most northernmost flags and the wall itself. So we do have the ability to come off of the street and then proceed up there. So we've got about a 15-foot wide window. So we would have the ability, but obviously, if we did that, that means that pretty much every tree that is within that 15-foot wide
You'd
corridor.
have to clear to the wall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're clear.
Yeah.
Now, doesn't mean that we wouldn't be clearing in association with even the other option, but what would happen is, especially if you look at the Dolans on the 118, they would be the ones that had with the cedar
I know.
bump. So, the other ones are far enough back in, obviously, we had some stormwater features associated on that edge. So this would just replace those stormwater features, and it just would help them. Well, obviously, by diverting the water back,
The only difference is that much.
Yeah, yeah, it's just, it's like the first 150.
About 100 feet?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. About the first
So,
100
so to answer your question,
Doesn't make that much
If-
difference.
we have other issues with the cart path use and the fact that it goes over a wetlands and it is in a wetland. So there's regulations beyond just this town that says that if you have an alternative to get onto a piece of property without going over wetlands, you should use it. Now, that's the state, I mean, it's not just the town of Scituate, it goes beyond us. However, there are places where people do cross over wetlands, but typically when they cross over wetlands, they have to replicate wetlands. Now, there's already a cart path there, we walked it, but it's not improved. It's basically whatever material was put there, there's a little bit of crushed stone that was added to keep someone from getting stuck, but it's not an improved road at this time. In order to be able to use this for the barn and the farming, the applicant is saying they want to improve that cart path to a point where they can use it. If they don't do that, then their alternative would be to put that road right along the stone wall. However, they're already proposing to intercept the groundwater that comes off through the stone wall and clearing that area anyways to create that drainage. So either way, some of those trees are coming down. There's a small portion from Maple Street to where they have that diversion proposed that would have to be cleared as well. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay. Steve?
Steve, let's go through a couple When we were kids, we lived across the street, our aunt owned the property. And just to clarify on the cart path, as far as I know, that was there long before we were kids.
Sure.
It was an old antique cart down there rusting away. And it was always dry until they built those houses, which is kind of unfortunate.
Right.
Crushed stone went in there after those houses were built, so you could still get down there. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay. Well, it does appear to be an older way to get in there, and we know that the woods around here is full of those. People used them to harvest firewood or to do whatever, so it's fairly clear that that's an older, it wasn't anything that was recently constructed. Again, using it isn't a problem, improving it becomes the issue. Yes, sir.
John Allen, 121 Maple Street. I'm across the street from this proposal. I have a question. If it does take place, and it does go to Plan B, which is the wall, using the space along the wall rather than the car path, is the entrance to the property at 132, is that going to change?
Gary?
Yes, yeah. Well, not the house itself, but yes, obviously, we'd have to cut through that existing wall, come down that right side,
So where approximately would you come in off of Maple Street?
right on the property line.
We're on the property line, instead of where it is right now, because that's originally there from ever, that entrance. Instead of right there, we would just go straight in, because you'd have to go like this, go like this, go like this. It'd probably go just straight on the end, which just makes it even dangerous, because it's higher up the hill, you know?
So, that entrance that you're referring to, how far up would it be from the existing? Just rough estimate.
Hold on a second.
About 100 feet, less than 100 feet, about 80 feet.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
You see, one of the concerns
So-
I have is I can barely get out of my driveway on 121. And now I'm going to be competing with another driveway?
Well, your point's made that ideally it would not be located in that direction. Is Maple Street a scenic way?
Yes.
So in order to do that, the applicant would have to go to the planning board and ask that the stone wall could get, which is possible.
The applicant's gonna need to go to the planning board anyways with an accessory structure
Okay.
on a
All right,
single lot.
But in
so-
order to access that in a different location, you go to the planning board and request that the stone wall be relocated, and that's something the planning board would consider. And they typically look at traffic. Conservation doesn't, unless it's a turtle, we're not really looking at the traffic.
Yeah.
So, but your point's well made.
That's a good one.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Like that.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, it's Christy Lauer, I'm at 108 Maple, and I just have two questions.
Sure.
First, we were not included in any of the notices that were given out, so I don't know if we can just make sure that our home is included as one of the, we're not
Are you,
presently the butter, we're like, I think like kind of us, a little corner.
Are you within 100 feet?
I don't think so.
If you want to,
Okay.
at some point, you could give your contact information, and if we're sending anything out on this, we probably should have done a sign-up, if that many people are gonna return for this. Do we wanna?
Yeah, we can put a sheet out and people can
Yeah,
sign up.
before you leave, we'll put a sheet here, and if anybody wants to add their email address, that's typically the way we do it, so, because I have a feeling that this is gonna go on for a bit, and so, not to have you have to call the commission every day or every couple of weeks to find out when this is gonna happen, but we'll try to notify folks as well. But it's good for the neighbors to stay in contact with one another in case we miss someone or something. We'll do our best.
And then my real question is,
What will the other thing that will happen is, before you leave here, this meeting's gonna get continued. We're not gonna close this tonight. So we're gonna continue this to some date. And then, at a minimum, at that date, we'll either hear more information, or we'll continue it again if they haven't provided all the information. So, go ahead.
and this is, Mr. Litchfield mentioned that cart path was awry until the houses were built.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a little concerned, I just want to understand a little bit better. So much clearing is going to happen for the barn, the new path if that has to be constructed, and then the agriculture fields.
Mm-hmm.
How does that impact the current wetlands, and is that expected
That's a
to
good question.
expand those wetlands? Like, how do you address that, and how do you handle that?
Well, that's pretty much what this whole process is all about. So we're going to look at all what we call resource areas, the wetlands, the distance from the stream, all those pieces get evaluated, along with Mr. Panz's engineer and environmental person. We have a consultant that's reviewed it as well, and they'll give us feedback on all of that. More than likely, there will be changes to all this. I think that it was, Mr. Pan said tonight that he's already had USDA look at this. They may come back with another idea on where his fields get located. So it's a little bit of a moving target at this stage. But, you know, the other thing, though, to remember is that before you saw this project tonight, you saw a project where someone took a bunch of land, came in and proposed 5 or 6 homes on the piece of property. That's not what's being proposed here. Someone's proposing to use this property for agriculture and to have a farm piece here, and I think that's important to. This probably wouldn't be a site where someone could propose any large sub-plan because of all the resource areas, but it's not another house, or it's not some sort of subdivision. So, you know, the commission tries to look at all those sort of things and sort of flesh that out a little bit and see what is proposed. But regardless of whether we like something personally or not, there's still our town bylaw, there's still DEP, there's still a whole bunch of agencies that look at that. And good or bad, you've got a piece of property that's pretty nice, but it's also, by being adjacent to a stream that is provided protection because of our water resources, there's more that we have to look at. So it gets an extra layer of review.
This is Amy Bojic, I live at 112 Maple Street. I just had a question because there have been several different plans already submitted, and it does continue to change.
and we hadn't had the opportunity to see the latest plans. So is that something that is going to be addressed as we go? Is there a point in time where there has to be a final plan so that everyone can come to a decision?
So anytime we get a plan, the commission has more time to review that plan. So by getting these this evening, we wouldn't close on this anyways, because we really haven't had a chance to look at it. Amy hasn't had a chance to totally review it. We give it to our consulting person to take a look at it. So, yes,
There'll be a
when we get ready
copy in
to
the
condition that, there'll be more, and I have a feeling he'll be coming back once he gets his feedback from USDA, because obviously there's gonna be more to that. So, I think we'll be a ways before we go. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Russell Briggs, 106 Maple Street.
106?
Yes. So, as I understand the barn size and dimensions, and we just learned this evening that it's also intended to be a residence with a bathroom and a bedroom. So, is it trying to understand the distinction between agricultural barn versus primary residence, as it appears to be significantly larger than the existing property? How do we determine that, and is that, you have guidance from the commission on how you determine or distinguish agricultural use versus residential?
Well, it's in a residential zone, so it's residential. I would assume if someone has I can remember listening to some debate, I think it was RNC Farms wanted to put a small farm stand on a location in Marshfield, just over the North River. And some folks were for that being, it was bordered a field. And the question was, well, what happens if the people working the fields or the farm stand want to use the bathroom? And there was an old guy there that was a farmer that had farmed the area for years, and he goes, we'll do what the farmers always do. Yeah. So, in this case, they're looking to put a septic system in and have that, and I guess, if someone is gonna use that, the Board of Health will have some jurisdiction over some of that, as well as the building department, because if you're gonna have something that's habitable, it's gotta meet a bunch of other requirements, safety and exits and all that sort of thing. So, plus, you can't have more than one dwelling on a piece of property. And again, this isn't our jurisdiction, but if there's already a primary home on that property, then another building becomes what they call an accessory dwelling. And if there's gonna be an accessory dwelling, then you have to go to the planning board, and there has to be a public hearing for that. So, there's,
Yeah, I guess that was the point. At what point does it no longer become a barn and it becomes an accessory dwelling?
well, again, that would be something that would have to get fleshed out a little bit with the building department. And maybe there's some other stipulation that the building department can say, you know what, this really isn't, but we're a conservation commission.
No, I understand. That's why
So we want to make sure, we want to
use,
make sure the
right.
septic system and the building and stuff all conform to our regulations. But in terms of use of the property and stuff, that
falls to the planning.
we're gonna pass that buck.
That's fair enough.
Okay?
Thank you.
No, I agree.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we gotta continue this.
So, is there anybody else? Is there any other questions?
Was the question that it was farmed? That was a question that it was never farmed?
No? Nobody questioned it.
No?
I thought that was a question in the beginning of this, that.
Well, it
we
doesn't
had to prove-
qualify for.
I guess,
land-
Amy, you're right, Amy.
Amy did tell me that I had to prove
No, Amy
that the
didn't
car
say
path
that.
was there. I had to prove that it was farmed.
No, it doesn't qualify as land currently in agricultural use.
I know.
So it would be a conversion to, regardless of whether they farmed it for the last couple of years.
So it's presently zoned as residential.
Yes.
Okay. So, Joe, we're just gonna keep this in, do you know what the date was of this photo?
July 31st, 1943.
I'm sorry, Steve, what was that?
43.
When the blimp crashed. It crashed and knocked the barn down on the.
Oh, that's the blimp that's,
It was June 31st, 1943, or a couple days after.
okay.
Blip crash.
Wow. Thank you.
None of us were here.
Trying to bring it back to nature.
That still doesn't qualify. There's specific,
All right, well, let's,
we'll just let the peer review consultant hammer that
Okay.
out. Yeah.
great, thank you. All right, so I think it's probably, at this stage, it would be good for you to get input from the USDA so that you know where you'll be going with some of these pieces. I think we've had the conversation about the cart path, and I don't think anybody's disputing that there wasn't a cart path there. The issue with the cart path becomes when you're improving the cart path to use at a more regular basis, you're gonna be adding gravel and whatnot, because it's pretty muddy. Let's be honest. We looked at this and I said to you, they could travel over it to do the perk test, but we know that it's real wet and it wouldn't, that cart path would not stand up to day-to-day use without
No.
becoming a real challenge.
But you also.
And we've heard the piece that it has been impacted by the houses that were developed above it, but the fact is that's already happened. So now, Joe, just, if you want to develop that area, you could certainly have your engineer show us some plan, which he has, for that cart path with improvements, with some culverts and whatnot. But we're gonna look at that, and if we feel that that is actually in a wetland, does there have to be some wetlands replication for that? And I
Does
understand,
be opposed for me, I'll build.
I understand what you're saying, and I think that's a piece that we have to look at and decide. We're still bound by regulations beyond our commission to look at that. And more than likely, we're gonna be looking at this with folks from DEP because it's so involved. And, you know, it seems like an awful lot of work to grow something, and I kind of feel, believe me, I feel badly that you have to go through all these hoops to clear a couple areas but you're in a fairly sensitive area, so let's see if we can figure out what happens from that. Yes, ma'am.
Just a follow-up on that, because there has been a lot of improvements to this path. And I'm just wondering, because this is so in its infancy, is there a stay on any further improvements being made until this gets sorted out?
I wasn't aware of any real improvements. I mean, we walked in there, and it looks like someone's driven over it a few times. There's a small amount of crushed stone in a couple of spots. Looks like it's been there for a while. It looks like, you know, there's...
Been there since I got there.
Well, so, I mean, I'm not seeing lots of gravel spread or anything like that. I mean, if there were work in the wetlands, then we would issue an enforcement order to cease and desist. We did not see that in that area. You know, they've got an area that they're growing vegetables and stuff in, and I'm looking at an old picture that looks like there was a field there.
And a barn.
So maybe over the years, you know, some of that's grown in and they've pushed it back a little bit, but we're not seeing any real flagrant disruption of the wetlands area or anything like that. So they did go in to do perk tests, so there was a machine in there doing some perks, and it looks like they might have cut a little bit of firewood or cleared out a little bit of an area, doing some of the test holes, but other than that, I don't think we saw much.
No.
We were there last Friday.
We haven't taken down any trees. Anything that we've taken down has been 3 inches or smaller.
Yep.
And all we've had in there has been a mini. And I'll admit, the tracks, those are my pickup truck only because I'm almost 70 and I'm not carrying all that water back.
Sure. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so
Far out.
what do you think in terms of a continuation? Like, when do you think you'd hear back, and when do you think you'd
Well,
have?
we meet with USDA tomorrow morning.
But in addition to the farm plans and forestry plan, they are excited about us getting a forestry plan for whether it be recreational or
Sure.
whatever. They would, his suggestion was a maintenance path for that for
For
that
the cart path?
versus.
Yep.
That they would actually submit something for us to give to you.
Okay.
That we can upgrade the cart path for maintenance of the forestry plan in the back. of the
Okay,
Probably February.
February.
We'll have it all together back well, we'll have meetings in between, but finally.
So do you think we want to continue the meeting that far out? Do you think there'd be anything that you want to submit to us before that?
We will submit it, but I mean, I don't think we'd have to do it through, with everyone here. We'll submit it to you guys, and you guys agree. We'll talk under, you know.
Yeah, we can review it.
We can review it
and
back
have-
and forth to where we come to an agreement, then we'll come back out.
All right, but so to have another formal meeting to progress with this, do you think you want to move this to February, or do you think you want to do it soon?
January 22nd.
End of January?
Okay.
That's the last meeting.
When's our,
That's
Yeah,
it,
that's the
January
date.
22nd.
Is that the Wednesday?
And
That's
if
a
that one
Wednesday.
doesn't work, we can just move it as it gets closer.
Okay.
okay,
I'm gonna make a motion that we continue 133 Maple to January 22nd at 6:20.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
I hope you grow something really valuable out there.
I better grow something good. Jeez, this is a nightmare.
Okay,
Who would have thought?
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Don't you got one more against me?
We're not
What's that?
against
You have one more thing against me.
I have nothing. Believe me. Oh, I'm, yes, so we have an RDA.
Check the scale.
You know what? Let's do it.
Scale on sheet one.
Excuse me, anybody that's in here, right now, we're gonna hold what we call an RDA
I think it's
for
100 or
footing.
something.
Solve it.
And I have it on my green pile. It wasn't even-
This is mine, you can't have it.
Oh, I know.
This will be quick, it's an RDA.
Yep.
Some work separate.
Sounds
work.
like it's just beginning.
Before you get to lots, can I have everything that,
No, I
Sure,
did all that.
is that it?
yep,
Yeah.
We got new plans, 'cause I-
right here.
Farther away from the neighborhood.
On November 18th, 2009, 6:30, the Town Hall, Scituate
Excuse me,
Conservation
folks, could you
Commission
take it outside, please?
will hold a wetlands hearing
2030, doesn't it?
under Chapter 131, Section 40 Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding, I'm sorry, this is an RDA. So on November 18th, during the 6:15 meeting in the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Joseph and Christine Pans for an after-the-fact determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws to replace the sonotube for an addition over a porch on property located at 132 Maple Street, Scituate. Butters and other interested parties. Gary, do you have a plan there that has the existing the house on it?
I think it's on that one. There it is,
Right there, the little dot in front.
right there.
Okay.
That's the wall. Wetlands are right along the wall.
Yep. Okay, so, Amy, do you want to just explain this one?
I'll leave it for you, it's all
This
yours.
RDA?
Well, no, I mean, the applicant can just say what
I'll
he's
tell you
doing.
what happened. They told me to put a concrete footing in,
They?
the building department. We drew it up, gave it to them,
Okay.
all right? I drew the whole thing up, took it to the building department, had it all engineered, gave it to them, they gave it back to me, told me I had a permit. Me? I wait for nothing. You guys know me, you see my house like that, I work. I commenced work, I did not know that I was within 55 feet of a wetland area, for one. So I took the old rotten wood pole out, I slid the sonotube, concrete sonotube right in the same hole, poured the concrete in it, and put the pole up.
Okay.
I paid the town of Scituate $3,000 for the guy to read the flags on my wetland, and he took it upon himself to walk over to this vernal pool that they say, and was looking in the vernal pool, and mentioned to me, hey, do you have a permit for that pole? And I said, what are you talking about? I got a permit right in the window. He said, no, you have to have one from conservation. I said I knew nothing about it. I came right here and talked to Amy, and that's when I met Amy.
Okay.
Right, so it's an
Paid
after
the
the
$200
fact
for that.
REA.
I paid the $200 for the after-fact permit. Paid $189 to put it in the paper. And
Okay. Penny, any questions?
I have no questions. I'm glad you came in and filed the after the fact.
Doug? No questions. Jen?
No, although when we were out on the site, it sounded like we had talked about, like, there were other things that you wanted to do to the driveway
Yes.
and things like that, and
do I bring that up now?
No,
No,
so we are
but-
gonna roll that into the NOI.
Because I videoed it today. There was a river coming off the road, going through my driveway, going into your vernal pool. That USDA took a ton of pictures, and they will be talking to you guys, because there's no pipe. The culvert is solid, plugged. And he took a bunch of pictures today, and he will be talking to you guys.
Okay. I don't think there's a vernal pool there, there's a brook there.
Yeah, I don't know about the vernal
No,
pool
it says
either.
vernal pool on the computer. That's what you said. I'm learning all this stuff, I
But
don't know anything.
if you wanna do driveway improvements, when you come back in January,
Do it on that?
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
No, that's all right. Anybody in the audience have any questions? So this was the corner of the house,
The
and
porch, the little porch.
there was a deck there, and they replaced a rotted support with a sonotube. Yes, ma'am.
It was always a brook.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
It wasn't, I mean, it dries up in the summer, but in the spring and fall, it's a brook,
got it.
right by his house.
Okay.
I make a motion for a -3.
Anybody else?
Nobody else.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Negative is
We're all
good.
set.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know.
It's all right.
That happens.
All right, Joe, you can come and get that one tomorrow.
That was a good move, though, to get this out of the way right
We'll
now.
just give you a piece of paper to hang in your window.
Instead of him waiting.
Okay, now nobody has to hang around.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Okay, all right.
Wow.
I,
314 Central Ave, septic? Who's doing 314 Central Ave?
here he comes. Here he comes.
Let's see.
All set.
Where is it, John?
God love him.
Where's my thing to read?
I did not steal it. Did you say I'm stealing your papers?
I get it. A little out of order here, sorry.
Do you like paper? It's a good thing.
On November 18th, 2019, at 6:30 PM in the Town Hall, Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700, Town of Situate Code of Bylaws, regarding the application of Paul McLaughlin to install a new septic system at 314 Central Ave, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Good evening, Mr. Crawford.
Robert Crawford, representing Paul McLaughlin. This application is to construct a new septic system on a lot, a 12,000 square foot lot on Central Avenue, bounded on the east side by Cliff Road and on the north side by River Road. Basically, we're proposing to replace the existing cesspool with a 1,500-gallon septic tank and 948 square feet of leaching chambers. It's necessary to excavate 4.5 to 6.5 feet and replace the material that's there, come out with perk sand. Very little change in grade on the lot. The existing grades are within elevation 10 and 12 NGVD. NAVD, sorry about that. And the
Doug's the only one that will know the difference.
I just like hearing people say it.
the entire lot lies within a land subject to coastal storm flowage with an elevation of 15. try to answer any questions you have.
Penny?
No, it looks like it's gotta get done. I'm fine.
No questions?
I'm good.
Lisa?
Nope, cesspool is.
Just one question, I'm not looking at the
Septic's
plan. The
better.
access would be from Central Ave or from Cliff Road?
I believe it would have to be from Central Ave or River Road. Cliff Road is a
Yeah, I know. I live there.
birch, beach stone berm.
Right.
Along there that we don't want to disturb.
Got it.
Okay. Amy?
No, I didn't have anything on this. It's gonna be a good improvement
Yeah.
for that area of Hummerock for sure.
Anybody in the audience?
I make a motion for -3.
Second.
No, it's
No,
a
This
order.
is a no, we're gonna close.
Orders.
Oh, this is an NOI.
Yes.
I was thinking
I'm
RDA.
sorry, yeah, I'm on the IDA.
Oh, now I have questions.
Yeah, no. I make a motion to close.
Richard
I'm
used to make
sorry.
it, keep an eye on pennies, so now it's
Oh,
your
you
turn.
guys
Is that
tonight.
right?
But you were with me.
All right.
Second it, somebody.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Bob.
I had skipped down to the IDA.
How about 153 Glades Septic?
Mine, right?
On November 18, 2019, at 6:35 PM, the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws, and Section 30700, Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws, regarding the application of Betsy Mitchell to repair a septic system at location 153 Glades Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend.
Good evening.
Evening.
For the record, my name is James Garfield, engineer at Morse Engineering, representing the applicant Betsy Mitchell for the NOI associated with the septic system design at 153 Glades Road. So familiarize yourself with the plan. We've got the property lines outlined here in bold. Glades Road down at the bottom of the page. The existing single-family dwelling takes up the majority of the lot, and there's also a detached garage to the rear and right corner of the lot. So this existing site is currently serviced by a failing Title V septic system consisting of a cesspool and overflow cesspool. In terms of resource areas out on the site, this is the north side of Glades Road, so we're within a barrier beach resource area, as well as the FEMA flood zone AE elevation 15. And basically what we're proposing to do is to reroute the plumbing out the side of the house into an H20 1,500 gallon septic tank, which will flow by gravity into a Presby Enviro septic leaching field. Just due to site constraints, this is kind of really the only format to fit everything. So yeah, with that, I'll leave it to you guys for any questions.
No, no questions.
No, you
I
didn't
see
say,
that plan
you didn't
for
say
the-
any VDA. But,
Ask him.
no, I'm not going to do that to James.
Yeah,
I'm
can I
good.
see your plan for a
I'm
second?
good, yeah.
Jen?
No, I'm okay.
Lisa?
Nothing.
Good. Amy?
So this does have a DEP file number. Board of Health, I'm not sure if it has Board of Health approval officially or not. I know they did have to cancel their meeting tonight. But it's on their docket to approve, so good with that, I think. There is a wall, a concrete wall in the front of the property.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was thinking this might be a good opportunity to try to get improvement there, but otherwise, I mean, clearly this is a good upgrade for the environment, for the new septic. So, those are my comments.
When you say an improvement, what are you thinking?
Removal of the wall?
Yeah.
It's isn't that a short wall?
Yeah.
It goes a good stretch of the properties down there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, those are, walls are divert flow, so we know that we're discourage new walls, and walls seem to appear one day and they're gone the next. I mean, it's kind of one of those things. You could special condition it as far as like,
How long's the wall been there though, Amy? That's the question.
no idea.
It might have been there 100 years,
Might have.
and it's like grandfathered in at this point. Unless I know
Well, but
something that it just went up in the past couple of years without permission.
No, it's,
been there a
I've done
while.
work out there. There's like, it's funny that there's that wall there.
Yeah, there's some walls and then there's not. And
No, I know.
sometimes
Yeah.
walls just
Weird.
appear and
Yeah.
sometimes they go away.
Yeah.
So if we, I mean, there has been other activities out here that have been more recent. I think this concrete wall and also the concrete slab appear to have been there for quite a while. If they were proposing any substantial improvement to this house or elevation or whatever, I think we would be looking at this and asking that they make more impervious surfaces. There's an awful lot of concrete poured all around this place, and I ideally would not have that. However, we also have allowed people, when they do septic systems, to replace their driveway. I can think of that instance several times in Hummerock where where we would not condition a driveway if they came to us and wanted that, but in the case of a septic system, we've allowed them to put their driveway back. We've asked that maybe they use impervious surfaces or something, and I'm assuming that this is just gravel on top of this?
Over the septic?
Yeah.
That's just, yeah, it's just gravel and beach grass.
So there's no impervious surfaces or anything proposed?
Not to the rear. All the impervious is out front.
So the garage, there's no real access to that garage for a car? Is it more storage or?
Right now, I'm pretty sure they just have, using it
I'm
as
not seeing
storage.
any driveway.
I know
or-
that, like, for parking at this site, they park in the area where the septic would be going, which is why we're proposing a Presby field,
Right.
just so you could drive over it.
Yep.
But yeah.
So I'm not really sure that we could.
It kind of marks the property lines out there.
Right. But it,
Like most
I mean,
of
what
the
it
lot
does is it
corners
winds
are-
up deflecting the flow
Yeah.
that goes over there to other, but it's been, if this was a recent violation or whatever, we'd say no, or if they came in and said, geez, we want to make significant changes to the home, in the case of the septic system, we're pretty much allowed people to put back what they've had, and we're happy to get the improvement of a good septic system as opposed to groundwater contamination and things like that. So I guess I never want to discourage people from doing a septic system. If they were back in here and said, geez, we want to substantially change this house, or we want to elevate it or something, we might be looking at that and saying, all right, but you gotta, and that's happened in cases where people have elevated on a barrier beach or where they've elevated in different areas. We said, you're gonna have to remove some of the stuff in front of it, but I'm not so sure that we'd have a lot of ground to stand on to have them remove anything here. We could,
It is.
we try to encourage folks to not have all that concrete and stuff, but
I'd love that.
I'm not sure that we could have a lot of ground to stand on. Anybody in the audience?
I make a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's see. Maple Street. I bet you we should, what's 16 Gannett Road?
That's up.
Okay. On November 18th, during the 6:15 meeting, Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of Melanie and Jason, is it Lello?
Melanie and Jason Lelio.
Say it again. Melanie.
Jason Lelio.
Sorry, Jason.
That's okay.
For a determination of applicability of Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands bylaws to rebuild a foundation on the side and rear porch to create a crawl space foundation with flood vents on property located at 16 Gannett Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Dick Rockwood. I've done the architectural work. So what we have here, which I shaded in orange, is an existing covered porch.
wrapping around the house. We want to enclose the covered porch. So we're going to extend a kitchen and a living room. And right now, it's all on sonotubes, but we want to make it a crawl space foundation and put in knockout panels within that. You have a foundation plan that I turned in, which is this here, and we'll put in the knockout panels. And we thought we were working, we're not really expanding our footprint in that area, other than the little covered entry here, which is an outside, basically two sonotubes to put in that entry. Their garage is back here. They were at conservation, or the property owners prior were at conservation years ago. So it was a current plan, so we thought that an RDA would hopefully be sufficient to keep things moving.
And this house is currently at an elevation that's...
Yes, it's at a proper flood elevation, I think you have.
Well, it's flood elevation 16. It's AE 16, but I have it at first floor is not, is that like 10, not even, or less than 10?
Plan says 17.
Just comment, just really quick about, so it's land subject to coastal storm flowage, and that building code requirement to elevate to base flood elevation if it's a substantial improvement. So I guess like the gray area to me is whether or not this is a substantial improvement, and then also whether or not you really want to be taking this as a request versus a notice, where with orders you have a little more control and more detail. But things to think about.
So
I have an elevation certificate.
Basement crawls.
Yeah, I do too, and it says 9.3.
But it's 16.
And then top of next
That's a
pile
basement.
was 17.
Yeah, the floor is at 17.5.
Sorry, say that again.
First floor of the house is elevation 17.5.
Okay, and this is in
That
AO,
makes more sense.
so this is in AO 16.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, AE 16.
AE 16.
AE 16.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Penny?
Yeah, I don't know if an RDA should have be a foundation. I don't know.
What's that?
I questioned whether it should be a filing, an NOI, but go ahead, Doug.
If I was working within the existing, under the existing porch, I'm not
Right.
adding
all
on a
right.
20 by 20 room or something, so that's.
Yep.
Just
Okay.
thought it would be an easier path, not to skirt around
Doug?
anything.
So does the existing house have a basement?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so that's the 9.3.
That's the 9.3.
Right.
Okay,
So,
And we're not doing a substantial improvement.
yeah.
and
all right.
the, how do these work with the, if it's on sonotubes and you put in a foundation with the knockout panels? The knockout panels are based on square footage, right?
Yeah, it's,
Like there's so many openings per...
it's 1 square inch per square foot, unless you have smart vents.
I see those are smart
vent's 8 by
vents.
16, 132 square inches, but it equals 200 square inches, because it works so efficiently. So it's,
Yeah, I've never seen those, but yeah.
yeah. So.
Everything's getting smarter.
Yeah, so, well, they're pricey.
Yeah.
They're $400 or,
So, but is it still structural, the walls?
the walls, yeah, it's a structural wall.
So, yeah,
On
I
the
didn't know
full-
if they were reinforced with like some sort of like lolly columns or something like that to,
No, I'm pouring a regular strip wall foundation, a footing and a 4-foot knee wall under
so
that.
these vents just allow
And
the
the vents
water-
just allow the water to equalize, which
Gotcha.
makes it to code
Right.
for that, so
It has a value. So it's the value of the structure compared to the work.
Okay,
So,
50% of the assessed or appraised value.
so,
You
I
can't
mean, you can
see.
take the value of this home, I mean, just off the cuff, I would say it
I have
wouldn't.
got the assessor's card right here.
Yeah, but even the assessor's card, I mean, you take the value of that home at,
745, something like that.
so you're not gonna anywhere near trigger that.
Okay,
We don't
so
intend to.
50% of that would be considered substantial.
It's not gonna have that much. Are you proposing to elevate the house while you
No.
do that?
It's already at 17.5.
No, but I mean, how are you gonna hold the house up while you put this? You're
We're gonna
gonna,
probably take the porch roof right off.
I see,
That's what we're still discussing,
I got you.
what to do, so,
Okay.
or we can always, I've done them plenty of times where you just bracket and hold the
Yeah.
porch roof, put the foundation in,
Okay.
you know, it's just too hard to work under the existing
Oh, I see,
deck.
this is just a foundation for the porch.
It's a foundation.
The
for
the
that.
foundation's already there on the other.
Right, we're
I
gonna
get
take
it.
out the 2 walls and extend it and make it living
Yeah,
space.
yeah, got it.
That's what we're planning on
Okay.
doing.
Okay,
Anybody?
everybody happy?
We were hoping it would fall under an RDA.
Yeah.
Because we weren't really expanding the footprint or changing
Okay.
any grading or anything like that around there, so
I'm
that's,
just waiting for Jen.
I'm trying to remember this specifically. I feel like it's pretty close to the shared driveway, isn't it? Does it abut it, or is it like, is there a little strip of grass or no?
yeah. There's a strip of grass.
Yeah.
700 feet, 8 feet,
Okay.
I would
I'm just-
guesstimate, looking at the 10-foot dimension.
Trying to understand the impact of the construction on neighbors and that shared driveway. Well, and you have 7 feet of space to do all that.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
you
we're gonna-
bring up an excellent point, Jen, of the one difference between a request and a notice of intent is we're not notifying abutters here.
Oh.
Yeah,
So this just got advertised in the paper.
yeah.
Um, So the set of orders would definitely give a butter notification, so you'd get that type of comment.
So the neighbors don't know about this?
Well,
It's
they-
advertised in the
weren't-
newspaper.
but that
so
was it.
If they read
They
the
didn't-
ledger on a particular day, they would
Who
know
gets the
about it.
ledger?
Just saying.
easy.
And
Oh, sorry. I love the
Don't even get it
papers.
anymore.
All of them.
The proposed construction's not gonna use the shared driveway, it's gonna come through my front yard to access it.
Right.
They should take down a fence to access it, because there's actually a brand new driveway that went in, so we don't wanna ruin the driveway.
There's a brand new driveway?
Well, there's a new crushed stone driveway that they put in.
Next
Is that
door.
part of this?
And
No,
I'm-
next door.
We'll
You're
turn
not
to see
seeing
And
that.
I'm not sure that's
Yeah.
a conservation issue necessarily, it's, nothing's gonna change. There's a
Well, but-
driveway and there's lawn, and it's gonna look the same.
But don't we care about a driveway, Amy?
Yes.
Yeah.
If it's land subject to coastal storm flowage, any water
Right.
in the ground would be something that's subject to permit.
Yeah. So maybe that was or wasn't permitted.
On the house next door,
I
what you're
don't know.
saying? I don't know either.
But I have no idea.
So is that your driveway or is that,
The driveway is shared by, I believe it's 6 houses.
Look, Jen, just look.
oh, yeah. Yep.
So it sort of wraps around.
Correct.
Yeah.
It just seems close to a neighbor. I don't know.
Closer?
Oh.
No, I know it, yeah.
I think that's something they can work out with their
Right.
neighbors.
Okay.
I mean, I
For what it's worth, I have spoken to all my neighbors. But I know that doesn't.
yeah.
Well, no, actually,
But,
that
no,
does
I-
mean something.
Obviously, I just bought the house, so I wanted to obviously be a good neighbor.
Sure. So we're really reviewing this, not so much, it's the resource areas that's in the flood zone. Is essentially why we're looking at that. And I guess the only concern I would have is that we know that there's times when we get really high water and it floods in that area. What we want to make sure is when you excavate and stuff like that, that we don't wind up with any runoff or siltation that goes down Gannett Road or winds up in the storm drains or something. So it may be that they're gonna have to think about where their materials placed or something.
I agree.
And potentially maybe a silt sock in, I mean, it's hard to put one in that location, but whatever they could do to minimize any erosion or silt coming off the property.
If I remember, it has all cobblestone edging. Is there cobblestone? There's edging all the way
Right.
around, so we could silt sock.
Probably that's something we
So
should.
not, I wasn't thinking in terms of runoff or that it was necessary in that area. but-
Well, what just happens, I mean, in a real bad storm is water's coming down Gannett Road and it can fill up that area.
I think this area goes up a little from the road itself. From what I've heard, is nothing comes into this area right there, but.
How long have you been there?
Oh,
Since the end of October.
it comes in here.
Does it?
Yes, it definitely does.
It actually like,
So it's just
It
always,
comes up to about ocean, but I don't think it's ever been in, from what the previous owner told me, it's never been in his basement.
oh, the broker.
Because they never lie.
They always want.
Jeez,
Well, we can condition silt sock.
yeah, just a silt sock or something like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
I'm
can
not,
add that.
Do that.
I don't think that this
To the
needs to
end.
move to a,
Yeah.
Well, I don't like it, I have to tell you,
Yeah.
because it's consistency among the other filers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But,
if we were in a B zone or ripping out the whole house or jacking up the house, but this is a porch.
yeah, I mean, a lot of the ones in Hummerock are split V and land subject to coastal storm flowage, but
Flood area and it's a porch.
had you consulted us first, we would have recommended a notice of intent.
But I thought
Yeah.
that Jason had asked you about the RDA.
You know, I don't recall that on this one, so.
Yeah, we did
Okay.
talk to someone that suggested.
Okay, yeah,
Well, we're not gonna,
because I would have just gone that route had.
not a good idea next time out.
Okay.
I make a motion for -3.
Negative's good.
Second.
Yeah.
Negative in my mind is negative.
No, no, that's approval, yeah.
Negative means we don't have to have another hearing.
But with
We need to
we'll
vote on
put a
it.
condition on it for the.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I have a motion for -3.
Second.
Second, we're gonna put in some erosion control. I didn't know that the Department of Homeland Security handles elevation certificates.
They're in
They
charge
just,
of
they just fall
conservation.
under the,
They're,
they fall under, FEMA falls under
Oh,
DHS now.
okay.
All right.
All right,
oh, yeah.
you got a
We're all
-3
set.
with some erosion control.
Okay, thank you very much.
We'll go home.
Cup of tea. A cup of tea? I'm gonna have
Let's get that request for Great Rock Road out of the way, so this other gentleman can go
Yeah, they
home.
are gonna build out there.
Hey, you can ask him.
Thank you.
That is the intent.
Someday.
Things, all
I
things,
enjoy it the way it is as well.
Oh, yeah.
I remember going up there.
Yeah, we
Good
all
evening.
took a hike out there.
Hi, Chairman Snell, how are you?
That's fun.
Jeremy, what's your last name?
It's Brian Host,
Brian, I'm sorry.
2900 Drive, Cohasset, Massachusetts, legal residence, but functionally speaking, trapped in Brookline for pretty much the next 3 years, which to answer your question is why I haven't moved more aggressively to build there. I mean, I'm really not going to be able to take residents out there until 2023, and it's been hard to get motivated to actually make a major investment in a home out there that I'm not really going to be able to spend time and enjoy.
It's gonna be quite something.
It's a beautiful spot.
Well, when we walk it,
It's
it's
a beautiful
going to
spot.
be something out there.
It's an
Yeah.
absolutely
Just
beautiful
I don't care if you put a shack out there.
It may be. It may
It's
end
gonna
up
be
being. It
beautiful.
may end up being a fairly humble cabin because I kind of like it the way it is.
Yeah.
As opposed to
Good for you.
building something massive out there. But I
Yeah.
suffer a little schizophrenia, which is why we haven't poured a foundation.
So we want to, what can we give him for an extension?
We
Is
give
it
him
3 years? 3 years?
No, we do a year at a time.
Oh.
Is that what the paperwork is, Jen? It's a year,
The
right?
request was for 3 years.
The request was 4-3, okay.
I thought we-
Three, and the OOC says that you can do extensions for up to 3 years at a time.
Right.
One or more extensions of up to 3 years each. Realistically, there's zero possibility I'm going to be done with construction out there a year from now. So that's why I put in the request for 3 years. It was as simple as that. But there is some time pressure to actually get started because my septic permit cannot be extended beyond December of next year. So it has
that go?
Yeah, so that needs to attach to something. It doesn't need to be a completed home. But
attach
it needs to attach to something at that point in time in order to check the box.
Just put a toilet out there on
Well,
the,
perhaps an outhouse, but I'd have to get that permitted. But no, in all seriousness, a quick update since I was here last. I mean, I bought this property in pristine condition with permits in place. So the engineering work that was done in this was not the engineering work that was done by me. Those permits were approaching expiration, which is why I was here 3 years ago to request the extension. I've been diligent in extending all the other permits that came with the property. Since I was here 3 years ago, or right around the time I was here 3 years ago, in compliance with item number 1 on the order of conditions, which was an on-site meeting with the conservation agent, Chairman Snow and Officer Gallivan and I and my contractor walked the site. We walked through an initial sequence of activity which was focused exclusively on getting the erosion control in place, getting the construction access road in place, and then getting to getting the septic leach field system in place, which is by far the most complicated part of the project and the most environmentally sensitive. When we walked the site, there were two there were two site conditions that merited a change. One is that the septic clean out at the what I'll call the top of the plateau, right? So the septic leach field is a lower elevation. You run the pipe up to the top. The clean out at the top and frankly the pipe route ended up at a stake that was right in the middle of a very large elevated rock outcrop at the along the edge of that upper plateau. And so there was clearly, if you moved just slightly west, I don't remember what it was, but it was about 20 feet. There was a clear spot between the two large rock outcrops that was a much more graceful path down to that lower elevation. So we moved, with the permission of Officer Gallivan and Chairman Snow, we moved that pipe just slightly west in order to avoid having to blast out that rock outcrop. The second thing was that the access road basically cut right through what I would characterize as a bowl or a watershed that faces north on the island. And there was plenty of room, if you look at, sorry, I know this is fairly dense, but this is the access road right here. There are multiple drainage basins just based on the topology, but right here is a drainage basin. And this went basically cut right through it. So not only did it cut through and create the opportunity for runoff, but there was also a significant amount of cut and fill that's on the plan. And so by simply sliding this onto the flat elevation right here, we were able to avoid that completely. Again, it was a very small shift, slightly to the south. This is an 8-acre plot, so this is fairly dense, but there's a ton of, when you actually go out there, there's a ton of room to make a slight move like that in a lot that large. And we were able to basically keep it on completely level elevation and avoid creating any runoff issues by just shifting it a little bit and avoiding that sort of traversing that drainage and doing any cut and fill activity. So all that work has been done. The septic leach field is in. There's a partial as-built that was timely filed with the Board of Health. I think that was included in the packet that I've done. So all the work down on that lower elevation in the environmentally sensitive area is done. The leach field is in. The pipe is up to the top of the plateau. We didn't cut across the plateau because there's no point in doing that until we're actually attaching it to a house. And then the access road the construction access road is in. All of the sorry.
Yeah.
It's foreign vocabulary to me because I'm not a builder, but all the erosion controls remain in place. I'm out there, pretty regularly, just making sure that everything's working, and I think that's the quick update. So.
Good. You could be a poster boy for.
Can you come earlier and everybody else can follow
you? Could run a class for all the people that are doing projects and say, here's the right way to do it.
In fairness, the traffic guys would not have allowed me to get here for it to be first, but otherwise I would be happy to do it. I was racing down here because your schedule gave each person 5 minutes, and I'm like, I'm going to miss it.
That's wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Give him a 10-year extension.
Yeah.
Penny.
I have no questions. Do you want to go for the motion?
Yeah.
Yes. I make a motion that we give this gentleman a 3-year extension on his
Second.
Great Rock.
Put your other glasses on.
I know.
Do you want to
Second.
give it a date, or we don't have to?
No, it's 3
3
years.
years.
Okay. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very
In
much.
3 years.
You're gonna invite us all out when you have a place, right?
Yes, and I hope when I see you in 3 years, it's for whatever the final approval is, as opposed to an extension.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so 214 Clap, which is Studley Farm
And I will
subdivision.
I'll recluse
Is
myself.
looking for an extension. It's a 1-year extension, which is what we usually vote.
For the whole development, or what?
Yes. 1-year extension. And they're wrapping it up with their stormwater.
I would
We're
think they would be by now.
hoping, actually, they've submitted a request for certificate of compliance. They weren't quite there yet. So they
Is that why
are,
they had to go for the year extension?
Yes.
Okay, that's because I thought,
and we're hoping actually it's gonna be much less than that. There's
Yeah.
just some
Thank you.
outstanding items that need to be addressed.
okay,
Some of the plantings have died,
So we're
it's
just
not
gonna-
functioning quite as designed, so they're gonna be tweaking it a little bit, and,
Glad you noticed the plantings, because that's the one, I go out there because I had to chair that.
yeah, and they're coming in, they'll be coming back in with a peer review letter that says that they've met the conditions of the permit, and we can issue that.
okay, so you just want a 1-year extension?
1 year, yeah.
Does anyone have a question here?
No, I'm glad for it.
I make a motion for a 1-year extension for Studley Farms.
Second?
All right.
All in
Those
favor?
In favor?
Aye. Frank's snoozing
Thank you.
over there.
I'm reclusing myself.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry.
I almost forgot.
Bridget was snoozing, I did forget. Okay.
I'm in a
Moving
butter to
on.
the project, so.
Oh, man, I know.
That's the one right across this.
Okay, so moving on
When
to
when
the orders.
Cameras are off, we'll ask.
Guys, we're gonna vote on the orders.
Yeah.
Perhaps have some discussion on 86 Humrock Beach Road on the orders that were sent around. I think one Kings Way septic system's pretty straightforward.
Yep, I make a motion, we accept 1 Kings Way as written.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. I make a motion, we accept 19-6 Ave as written.
All in favor? So on 86,
Did
Humrock,
you all read them today?
It's on my phone.
Penny,
Yeah.
Amy,
Yes, sir.
so number 21, all fertilizers, does that have to be in there where there's no water protection? Well, or we just want people to use pesticides and stuff the same way?
Yeah, that's just a standard condition that we keep in all of them,
Okay,
hoping that people will,
follow that.
follow that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then number 32 is about loam and seed and all that, and then we have another 38 where we're saying plantings are indigenous and blah, blah. So just, do we need 32?
We could take 32 out. Want to scratch 32?
I just don't see where it,
We-
it almost,
Well-
they almost seem to counter each
Oh,
other.
yeah, right here.
Reading on my phone's hurting my eyes.
No, actually, they don't,
That's why I printed it.
because in 32, it says a minimum of 46 inches of organic topsoil, and that wouldn't apply in 38.
Yeah, but where are they gonna put topsoil in,
On a beach,
On
right?
the
they
beach,
can't
they're
raise
not
the
gonna
level.
put topsoil down.
Yeah, we don't want to
You can't
encourage that.
raise the level of the ground.
I get a cash sheet for that.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Thank you.
I think we should remove 32, that sounds like a good idea. Then we can read 38.
Yeah,
And I have it as written, planting shall be indigenous to the coastal resource area and consist of various grasses and shrubs over the leaching and septic in between garage and house and on either side of the garage. No additional walls or planter box are allowed under these orders.
yep.
Scratch the word
Is
not.
that in your?
That's in the edited version?
Yeah.
She
I thought I had the one.
Amy?
And M&M.
I'm gonna go
Mine and one I
remove-
raised up with you, I think the wording needs to be changed on 6 to be the sign on the property, because you can't put it on a public way, there's no public way there.
Right, actually, I responded to that one,
You did.
Rich, to you, and, I mean, they would put that on their property.
Right. But the 6 says it's supposed to be on a public way. Well, there's no public way. That's why I think it could be confusing. It's relatively minor, but
Okay, so we can tweak number 6, yeah.
that's all I'm saying.
Well,
You said to
clearly
read,
visible.
Amy, you clearly said we should read these and
Yeah.
review them.
Well, I'm glad you did. I'm very glad.
But it says visible.
You can go there,
Yeah.
but the closest
Are we really
public
gonna
way
sit here and
is
discuss
River
where they
Street.
put the sign?
The closest public way is
Yeah.
River Street, it's a block away. So you can go there, but they're all private ways. So she says put it on the property.
Oh, really? I drive down there. I didn't know I'm on private.
Oh,
way.
everybody drives on the private ways,
All
but
right.
they're private.
Well, and there was some comment
You didn't get that in
about-
any of the hearings?
Oh, please, do I pay attention? I don't pay attention.
There was some comment, as you know, discussion among the abutters about whether or not these orders are consistent with past orders that past commissions and agents had issued in the last 10 or 15 years.
But the past commissions didn't have the depth of knowledge that we have.
Well,
And some of the
and-
rules have changed.
And, well, some of the rules have changed, but actually, in fact, the orders are fairly consistent. Like, it's just, the conditions themselves
Right.
have kind
No,
of
they look good.
rolled into each other. They accomplish the same goals.
Yep,
Yep.
So,
I like it.
yeah.
Okay.
And we do have structurally compliant plans on this, which are incorporated into the orders.
Do we always put that in the orders, all the list of,
No,
that's pretty,
I've never seen a list
we
of
have a
documents
lot of
before.
information that came in on this one, so we thought it was good to try to keep it straight.
so all that's in the orders
It's
and it's
in-
in the file.
Bottom, yeah.
Right, so it's part of the permanent record, so should this
Wow.
go anywhere else.
Jump up again.
Well, it's a good point of reference if anything
And there
ever
are
came
people
up.
in that area that can go by there reasonably often.
Oh.
Okay, so we'll take a look at number 6 on
I
the
just-
signage.
I'd say we could approve it with those couple of changes.
Yes.
All
I
right.
make a motion to accept the orders with the changes we just discussed.
But we're keeping 32 though, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Or just
I think
place
I have
it in
removed
the-
and
No, we're
scratched
keeping
out.
38, I
We're keeping
think.
38, 32
rewording
is
it.
removing.
Moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, 32 goes, yes.
Okay.
All right,
But if we just did-
So
we
you have to,
better
vote,
vote.
Frank.
so you have to renumber them.
So did
yes. No.
She's got it.
I made a motion, we accept them with the changes.
I get a second?
Still sign
Second.
them, Rich.
All in favor?
Aye.
Still sign these?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Because we'll just,
What was it?
tomorrow,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I didn't pay attention to
Seconded?
Rich.
I did.
Okey dokey.
What else we got?
Nothing.
We have updates on Wildlands Trust site visit, Higgins McAllister Bridge Boardwalk Town Forest.
Right. Penny, did you hear back from Wildlands?
Yes, December 4th, 9 o'clock, he's gonna be here with his people, and you and him can go do your thing.
December what?
4th, it's the
So,
Wednesday. after.
If anybody, this has to do with property that the town is giving to the Conservation Commission in exchange for property that was used for the safety building. And
Oh.
so and because of that, the Attorney General's office wanted conservation restrictions placed on those properties. So Wildlands Trust is gonna use those, is gonna be the CR holder
Yes.
for those properties. I think you and I have at least walked property with Wildlands before. They have
Yes,
a
we did.
board.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
walked them.
And so we've walked the properties with the Wildlands board, and they just take a look and see if they feel that they can put an effective CR on it and hold that on the property. So it's a group of folks from Wildlands, and it's kind of interesting. But it's really more important because we want that CR to kind of close out that piece, and so these properties
That one.
are already town-owned, but now they're gonna be under the care and custody of the commission.
Right. Yeah. So,
And they're just gonna be looking at that one.
It's
I think it's 3.
three properties.
So-
Three small properties make up the.
And this
thing.
is separate from their annual visits.
Yeah, no,
Right.
this has
Yeah.
nothing to do with
Okay.
our
There's
other
a,
ones.
there's a piece of property along the railroad track, like by,
Down each post office.
yeah,
Wait, what?
Captain Pierce?
It's on the other side of the railroad bed. It's actually closer to like Kings Way
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and
yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
And then,
I thought the other one, I don't know how you get into it. I thought it was,
well, there's one off a Countryway, sort of across from the entrance to the subdivision that we
Right.
looked at tonight, maybe down a little bit further. There's like a wetlands between Countryway and Captain Pierce Road and Curtis.
Oh,
Sort of
okay.
sits down in there, and it's a drainage. The brook that they referred to in that subdivision goes under Countryway near the Egypt Garage, flows into a wetlands, and then it flows out at Captain Pierce Road, sort of in the low area.
Yeah,
So that's
right.
that's
I don't know what
where
the
hell's
third one
piece?
was. I have no idea. You'll have to ask Jim. I don't know.
Drawing a complete blank on that.
Those are the only two that I, maybe it's just the two.
No, there's three,
Yeah,
and I can't remember. I'll have to look at my notes.
yeah. Because I still can't see how you get into the one off Countryway.
You just got to bushwhack.
Yeah, okay.
Wear your tick repellent.
You know,
Yeah.
hopefully
Oh,
by
Frank-
then, well, they were gonna come
They're
out
done
early
now.
this year, and then with the threat of Triple E, they said they bagged it, and they said they wanted to come out when it was cold.
Yeah, and then, of course, the leaves are down so they can have a better view
Yeah.
too, and so forth. So that's all good, so that's moving right along. And I'll remind you again.
Thanks.
December 4th.
Can I go to that?
Yeah. Absolutely.
You can, you certainly can.
You know, anybody that wants to go, it's kind of interesting. Higgins McAllister Bridge and Boardwalk. I think we have a Boy Scout that wants to do the boardwalk, so
Oh, that's awesome.
he's finally lit a fire under somebody.
Is that Miles?
Yeah.
Excellent.
So hopefully he'll take that on. I talked to Howard
into the RDA?
Matthews, who's been involved with that. Howard's willing to mentor him a little bit with some of that. So we need to get that RDA done on the bridge
Nice.
and boardwalk.
Do it.
All right?
We're pretty close.
Almost.
Maybe we can put a bow on it and do it right before Christmas.
12 days of conservation Christmas.
There we go. All right. So, so that's good news.
Yeah.
And then we'll move towards the bridge. Did we, do you know whether Paul had a
It
chance?
is not for the selectmen this outing, so it better be on the next. I will find out. I am not happy.
Oh, do we know if there was an issue with that bid?
I'm sure I would have heard, but I will find out. I didn't do any nudging in the past 2 weeks, so that's my call. Sorry.
What are sisters for? Come on.
I know, I let you down. I was supposed to be nudging the boys, and I will get on it tomorrow morning and find out why it isn't on tomorrow night.
All right.
Because it should be.
Yeah, we want to get that voted
No,
and
I want to
going.
get it done so they can sign on the dotted line and we get going.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
And
a
so
failure.
after we left Mr. Pan's
Yeah.
Friday, I was like right down the street from the town forest, so I just whipped in there to take a look. I was really discouraged. It's just
Oh.
trash and litter everywhere.
In the water tower area?
Yeah, well, above it, you know,
Yeah.
it's, and the problem is, like, we have 3 gates
Yeah.
to protect those trails, but they're all set back, so people can go in there and be
throw.
kind of concealed, and there's just a whole bunch of junk in there again.
I mean,
So-
real junk.
Need hunters
Oh, really? You mean like you need a dumpster
Well,
type of a thing?
I don't know if it's that much, but it's
Like
just,
couches?
it's really a mess. It hasn't gotten that bad this time, but there's trash bags,
That has happened
Coffee.
before. We've had furniture back there.
and
So what
I,
do you think, it should be gated?
well, that's what I'd asked Mike Green. The town forests have a little bit different jurisdiction. The town has some responsibility for those.
Yeah.
So I think we should go back to Mike and see if there's some way that we can come up with a way so that people, if they're gonna park there, they're visible from the street.
That they can't get down back.
And we'll have to figure out a way to do that. Because like I say, there's 3 gates that go off into the woods, but they're so far back, you know, you could park 100 cars in there.
Yeah.
But people can kind of get tucked out of the way in
Right.
places, and unfortunately they are.
Right.
And I happened to walk, there was a woman walking some dogs, and she told me about a bunch of stuff that she's seen going on there. And,
Kids drink probably, stuff like that, right?
well, if that was the only thing, that wouldn't be bad. So, I think it's something we
Back in
need.
the 80s, that would have been a hot
Yeah.
spot, right?
Well, it was. Yeah,
Like Lover's Lane in Duxbury.
70s, 80s.
Right, yeah. But
You remember
All the
Penny?
water towers. I climbed the water tower in Hanwha. We used to climb up there.
And that's fine, but just don't leave your trash behind.
I didn't leave my trash behind.
Well, I mean, I can bring that up in the
Yeah.
department head meeting tomorrow
Would you?
morning, actually.
That'd be
We'll
great.
have all the
We just,
basics are there.
it's a thing that we should probably, I didn't get a chance to go into the other town forest, but I will. That one's a little more visible now because the police are right across the street.
Yeah.
So you'd have to be a dope to go in
Right.
there, and
Yeah. No, I'll have Kevin's ear and Jim and
that'd be great.
people like that.
Okay. We want to vote some minutes?
Oh, yes.
What minutes do we have?
All of them.
All the minutes
Well,
as written.
Every minute for the last,
They're really
Sounds
good.
good.
I make a motion to vote all the minutes,
I second
accept
it.
all the minutes.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye. Good work, Penny.
as written, not a goal.
As written, or not.
Typos and everything.
Yeah.
Just leave them in there. It's perfect.
Doug said,
Because if you question the minutes, you can always watch the tape.
So we just
So,
put them all.
there you go.
Yes. Okay.
anything else?
Oh. No, I think I can make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Turn it off.
Do we have signatures tonight?
And
Like last time?